Garrett Nussmeier was speaking with the media yesterday after practice, and we got a couple of cuts. We'll listen into him. Nussmeier, obviously QB1 here going into spring, as yesterday after the drills, he was just updating how this spring is going. Are we good here?
Mm-hmm.
We ready to go? This is one, Stewie.
Lord doesn't know his numbers.
Just the way it gets uploaded.
It's obviously, we lost a lot of talent, but, I think we've done a very good job as an offense and developing our identity and, finding ways to make up for those losses. And I think guys have stepped up, and that was the biggest thing. Guys have stepped up in their different positions, and, I think things have gone really well so far.
More from Nussmeier talking about being a leader here in year 4.
Yeah, it's just through relationships. These are guys I've been around for a long time. These are guys that I spend a lot of time with, and we've just built relationships over time, and it's easy when it's done that way. I think that's important. Especially in my position and playing quarterback. It's having relationships with your teammates. So we spend time on the weekends together. We do whatever, and I think that's where it starts. It's building relationships with those guys.
This particular team. Here, talking about the 2024 edition of LSU.
You can't focus on, the 2022 or 2023, 2024 LSU football team is gone. It's no longer. It's now us, and it's our team. It's not a diss at those guys. Obviously, we have lots of respect for them and, everything they taught us and they showed us. But, it doesn't matter anymore for us. Now it's about what we do. And, it doesn't matter that we won 10 games and whatever in back-to-back years. It doesn't matter anymore. If we go 5-5 or 5-7, whatever it adds up to this year, it doesn't matter. So now it's about us and who we want to be. And, I'm sure if you ask those guys that are gone, they would say the same thing. It's about what we want to be and what we want to do this year and, the level and the standard that we are holding ourselves to.
The wide receiver room had some turnover. Obviously, a couple of top 20 picks there, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas moving on. Who's up next, according to the quarterback?
We have a lot of athletes in there, a lot of guys that can make plays, and I think they've all stepped up. Everybody has taken the advantage of their opportunities, and they're doing whatever they can to help and play at a high level. And I think our chemistry and right now our explosiveness has been very, very good because of that.
No Emory Jones yesterday on the practice field. No diagnosis on the big fella as well. But here's Nussmeier talking about the offensive line.
Yeah, no, it's a blessing, when you're back there and you got those guys in front of you, it's a feeling of safeness almost, I guess you could say. Those are guys that they're dogs. They're very good. They're strong as a unit. They got the best O-line coach in the country, and they care about each other. They care about our team, and they care about doing things the right way. And I think that's the most important thing. They're a solid group, in our offense and even on our entire team that just is an example of what we want to be. And and they set a great example. They do it with action and they do it with words. And guys like Will and Emery and Dellinger and Miles Frazier and even DJ stepping up. They've all done a great job, and they're really stepping up as leaders, and it's an example for us to look at as an offense.
More from Nussmeier, who was speaking, and that was him speaking about the offensive line. And the peace of mind that has to give you as a quarterback, knowing that you have those frontline guys with the experience, with guys like Dellinger and Campbell and Jones coming back, and the depth that they've built up front. This transition for Nussmeier into the full-time starter is going to be made so much easier with having that group really dialed in and to what Brad Davis has done. We'll hear more from Nussmeier. Don't forget about our friends over at Range Fit. Check them out at rangefit.com. 3 great flavors for you. They got the strawberry, they have the lemon lime, and they also have the blueberry that you can all pick up at rangefit.com. Check them out. We got a social media collaboration with our friends from over at Range Fit, but all of it over at rangefit.com that you can learn about. No sugar, great electrolytes, really gets you hydrated throughout the day. We believe in it. We start the day every day with Range Fit. Pick it up at rangefit.com. All right, here's Nussmeier talking about, there's going to be a lot of turnover from the offensive side in the production of running from the quarterback spot. Obviously, Jaden Daniels was the best in the country at that, one of the best to ever do it in college football from that position. What does Nussmeier bring as far as that ability is concerned?
Yeah, it's awesome. I've said it many times, but it's an amazing feeling as a quarterback when, your quarterback coach and also your offensive coordinator, you have that relationship with him to talk through things. He believes in you, and he's going to push me to be the best that I can be at all times. There's no slacking off. There's no excuses. There's nothing. And he expects me to do things at a very high level. And for me, that's the best thing possible. I want to be pushed. I want somebody who's going to expect and demand the most from me. And, I think he's done an amazing job. I think his track record speaks for himself, for the numbers that he's been able to put up with quarterbacks and in his offenses. And, I'm really excited. I think it's very explosive and, very dominant in the run game also. And I think it's going to.
That was Nussmeier speaking about Joe Sloan, offensive coordinator now, calling the plays. Here he is speaking of his running ability.
Having some sort of running ability to keep a defense honest is important. I haven't had a chance to showcase that or do that yet. It'll come. And, I understand, and everybody knows that that's not my play style to be running 50% of the time. But, I think it's important to run 15% of the time or when things aren't good and, you got to get a couple third downs a game with your feet. And, I know that. And, whenever it's there, I'll take it. I wouldn't say that like my focus is showing everybody how athletic I am. I don't really buy into that or listen to anything that's said about me or us. I'm just focused on doing things the right way, and when it's time for me to run, then I will do it.
So the biggest winners of Garrett Nussmeier being the full-time quarterback, full-time starter, and taking over for Jaden Daniels is going to be two groups, in my opinion. I think it's going to be the running backs, who will hear Nussmeier speak of, and the tight ends. And Nussmeier's going to talk on the tight ends on the next cut that we hear from him. But this room and this position, I think, has been as impressive of a building situation, from a construction standpoint that Brian Kelly has put together since he's been in Baton Rouge that is comparable to the offensive line, right? Like the offensive line is the standard where, they had the luxury of having guys like Campbell and Jones come out of the state immediately when they got here, but they've done a tremendous job of following that stellar recruiting class up with just wave after wave of talent. Tight end has done the same thing. They've landed, and in this past recruiting cycle, in the 2024 cycle, Trades Green, 6'7", 230, 5-star tight end out of Zachary, committed, signed, and coming into LSU to join a room that already has a guy in Mason Taylor who I expect to have a really big season. And we talk about that running style and running ability that Jaden Daniels had last year and what he brought to the offense, and it was so dynamic. It was so almost nearly impossible to stop. You heard Nussmeier speaking on his running ability. It's not, it's going to be a steep drop-off from what we saw last season. But the position groups that will pick up the slack will obviously be the running backs, but also the tight ends. And we mentioned Trades Green. We mentioned Mason Taylor. I think the next name to watch out for is Kamorian Pimpton. Mac Markway played real solid football last season, and you've also got guys like Connor Gilbreth in the room as well. But that tight end room, I think, is set to really take a big leap as far as production is concerned here coming off of last year. And it wasn't about the talent in the room last year. Obviously, Mason Taylor was a standout his freshman season. He was a little banged up last year, but even when he was out there and an option, Jaden Daniels, he still would think and was almost, more effective by just running in situations where it was a, kind of a dump off or a short pass around the line of scrimmage. Here's Nussmeier talking about the tight end. Stewie, this is 7, and that group.
Yeah, they've done a great job. All of them. Mason and Pimpton and Mac and Gio and the entire room. They've all done a great job. And it's Mason is an unbelievable talent. And having him in the room, it also gives those guys like Pimpton and Mac who are younger. It gives them somebody to look, to learn from and look at. And Mason does a great job leading, not in a way of like, hey, look at me, watch how I do it. More of like a, hey, like we can do this together. Let me show you. Let's work through this. Let's talk through this. And I think he's done an outstanding job in that. And he does everything he's asked to do extremely well. And he's a serious weapon and a serious threat.
So yes, I think that the tight end position is going to be exciting to watch this year as far as the growth that they take just from a room standpoint. You got options, man. You got guys that are athletic, tough matchups. You got guys that can kind of do everything that you need. Here's Nussmeier talking about what his expectations are heading into this 24 season for the program. Yes, this is 8.
If you asked any of us that, we'll tell you we don't believe that that's the standard anymore. Going into year 3, in this system and not even on the field, but off the field and how we do things on a daily basis, how we act, how we move around this building, how we do things outside of this building, it's all changed. And we hold ourselves to the standard to where we believe, like I said, 10 wins is not enough anymore. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, we have to win a national championship. That's not how we think, but it's about the little things. It's about doing the little things the right way, and that leads to a championship culture.
And this is the last one, 9, talking about what the focus is right now.
I think Coach Flint and the strength staff have done an outstanding job of, expressing that urgency to us, now. I mean, you can't just start that in fall camp. That's not how it works. You can't just pretend that you've been putting work in all offseason at a standard and then think you're going to hold yourself to it when it's time to play football games. So it starts now. I mean, it started right after bowl game. It started after bowl prep and offseason workouts. That's where it first started. And, I think they had a sheet the other day of numbers of the amount of misses and the amount of different things that we're supposed to do on a daily aspect. I think you guys have heard about our questionnaires and things like that. And if you look at our numbers now compared to what they have been, it's unbelievable. And I think we've turned a page, and that's our focus.
So there's Garrett Nussmeier.